Hi guys, so we're back once again. Today we're just going to be doing, it's going to be like a series of like all the decks I've been playing up until because we're coming up to the end of set 4, basically. I'm just going to be going through the decks I've been playing for the majority of the format and just going through them. I don't know if these will be separate videos or not just yet. They might be, or I might just put it in one big video instead, where I just talk about each leader for around 10 minutes if I can. Because I play every color but yellow, so I play 4 of the 5 colors in the game. So it could be like a 40-minute video where I just talk about each color and each deck I've been playing for 10 minutes and like why I've been playing them. The deck I've been playing the most in paper, not so much on ladder because I don't enjoy laddering with this deck as much, but playing this deck in paper is usually my favorite thing to play. It's Super Baby 2. Its permanent effect of being able to use your brainwashed or mute machines and rested in combo is insane. You just get to basically pile on a little bit of extra pressure for free with Goten or Trunks. Unless you're playing the Rildo package. When you're playing the Rildo package, you take full advantage of this permanent, if I'm being honest, which is really powerful. I just don't think we're in the correct format for the Rildo package just yet. The deck not being able to play 12 Self-Awakeners for me is a huge detriment to the deck, and which is going to be fixed in set 5, obviously, because we have the new Brainwash Bulma, which is going to be huge. But like, Baby not having 12 Self-Awakeners in the deck just makes it very vulnerable to people starving you. And the strongest thing you can do when people starve you is punish them by Self-Awakening. If you can Self-Awaken very efficiently, you just punish them by denying them. They basically don't draw any cards. And you've just been able to achieve what you want to do, which is awaken to get online quicker than they can. Only certain colors can starve you efficiently, but that's not really a factor if you have 12 Self-Awakeners in the deck. Helps when also 8 of them are searchable. So yeah, we'll go on to the list. So as I mentioned before, I'm just playing Good Stuff Baby. I don't really see the point of playing Rildo just yet. It has a very hard time at closing out the game, and I definitely think the Rildo chain it's more powerful than this version, 100%, but this is just consistently better into everything as opposed to the Rildo deck. Like, the Rildo deck is a deck that, if you don't know how to play it at high level, you'll struggle into Jiren. Jiren is not hard at all to beat as Rildo, by the way, but I do think it's a lot more work in Rildo as opposed to regular Baby. Like Good Stuff Baby, where you're just playing generically good cards, SCR, Glorio, Great 8 Baby with Bardock, like these are just, and the other Bardock, like you just have all these amazingly powerful cards. But we'll go on to, I'll talk about the ratios. So like, I definitely think Cantrip Pan is like the reason to be playing Good Stuff Baby over Rildo. Being able to find your most powerful card names, like this just adds Trunks or Goku GT, and it basically allows you to add this card super efficiently. Being able to add Disc Trunks is insane. Like, Disc Trunks is basically Hercule 2.0, right? It just lets, it's a +2. Regular Hercule in the green Hercule is a +1. The reason why Disc Trunks is a +2 is not only does he replace himself and give you an additional card, he takes a card away from the opponent once they're awakened, which is insane. Because you can combo him off rested. It's just very, very powerful. And Pan being able to find your SCR Goku, and then finding your 8 Self-Awakeners in the form of Trunks and this other GT Goku it's just a house. For me, it just makes more sense to play this than playing a regular cantrip right now. You have 16 targets for the Pan. It does kind of suck when you bottom deck some other stuff, but like, the things you're adding in comparison, like the main two contenders being SCR and Trunks, being able to add these two card names right now, I just think is so powerful that like I don't mind if I bottom deck anything else. And I really do feel like Black at the moment still kind of struggles without this card, unfortunately. It's still not at the place where it can play without it. For the utility one drops, though, we have two Power Brothers. I've never really felt like you need to play more than two. It's unfortunate you can't recycle it. You probably could get away with 3 copies if you wanted to. Like the most cardable card in this deck, I think, is the 3-drop Bardock. If you want more utility, like you can just play a 3rd copy of Power Brothers if you want to, and then whatever 3rd card you want. But I've always felt comfortable just playing 2 copies because you're only playing it in like the mid to late game against cards that are important. If you're not confident enough to have that type of decision making, and you don't feel very sure on like what would be the correct card to para, then you can bump up the numbers. For me, I know what cards I want to stop from attacking when I see this card. You cycle so many cards in the deck that you'll play this on cards that only matter. So like against red, for example, the only card name you realistically want to use this on is the SCR Goku potentially, and 6-drop Jiren. Like those are the only 2 card names that I would want to play this on. Against blue, it's just Vegetos. They have no other attacker that really matters. Against yellow, probably just a double striker. It's like the only way they can close out the game. Against black, it'll probably be Secret Rare Goku or Double Strike Bardock. So it's usually like 2 names on like each deck. So it's not a card I really want to just have 4 copies of, especially that I don't have. I've only got 8 energy marker generators in the deck. Oh, I've got 12, sorry, but they're not very consistent or efficient outside of the SCR Goku. Like these 2 are still Bulla and SCR Goku, Super Rare Goku, sorry, are just not as efficient at generating the markers. We're playing 2 Gyros because blue is a thing, right? Like blue is just a thing. You need to be able to consistently answer sharpeners. Being able to answer sharpeners is just so important, bro. You can't let sharpeners sit on the board when you're playing against Satan City. It's just too powerful. Being able to just resolve like a Giru turn 1 also is really good against. This is just also a really good punish against Beerus players who play Whis turn 1 and pass. Being able to play Giru to pop it, and then you're able to get out of a 20k crit swing for free through the Giru is also really, really strong. I'm trying to think if there's any other 1-drops that really matter. It's primarily just Sharpener and Whis. Oh no, sorry, Bulma. Bulma's also a very good one. Doesn't matter which one. Bulma in yellow is also a really, really good target to remove. Especially if you play against the yellow Vegeta, like you can just, if they have 2 Bulmas on the board, you can Giru one of them, swing to the, you can Giru one away and then swing into the rested one if they have one rested, which feels great. And them wasting extras on a 5-5 swing feels kind of garbage. I'm only playing 2 copies of Baby Possessed Boy form. I didn't really see the need to play more than 2 when there's only 2 names. There's only like 2 names I would play, right? Which is the Trunks and Goten. I don't usually play out the Bulla. So I usually just see this as a mid to late game way to win the game against, to close out the game if I've got my opponent at 2 life. So like the usual go-to, right, is the Baby Possessed Boy form into, like when you're on 6 energy, or you have 5 energy with an SCR on board, you can just play Bardock down, swing with SCR, or just play this Baby Possessed Boy form on the board, swing with something, combo off the Baby Possessed Boy form, then play Trunks. If you're trying to close out the game, you're just going to combo the Trunks away as well, and then you're going to get 2 10Ks back. If you do that with a Bardock, that combo by itself is 70. I think it's 75. You'll be swinging for 75 double, because this puts it to 45, this puts it to 55, and then you'll get 2 more 10s, which is 70. You'll go to 75. So just those 2 cards alone put you up to 75k double strike, which is really, really powerful. But once again, this is like a very late game type of thing. The Baby Possessed Boy form also synergizes very well with Bardock, but I'll talk about Bardock a little bit later. So yeah, like realistically, you're only ever playing Trunks off of this. Like it's very rare you'll play Goten off of this card, So I didn't really want to have like a billion copies of this card just rotting in my hand. So I didn't really see the point in playing more than two. But like, no, I think I'd always keep this at two. I'll talk about the other cards I would cut down in a bit. For Goten, because Mirror Match and Jiren is just a thing. More so for Mirror Match than Jiren, honestly. Jiren you kind of just beat naturally. And a Jiren player, I'm not gonna lie, it's very rare a Jiren player will just play down a. It's very rare a Jiren player will just play down Jiren against you if you're playing black. Like, if you play the Goten down, I feel like they lose the game anytime you just play Goten down and swing for 25 or 30 with your leader and bounce out the Jiren for free. It's just kind of game ending, but it's more so for the mirror match. So if your opponent goes first and they play Bulla turn 2, that means they have turn 3 SCR Goku. And the best way to retort that is to go Great 8 Baby into Goten and then bounce it back. So you get to swing. You're either swinging 25 or you're swinging 30. You're swinging 30 twice, bouncing back the SCR Goku whilst developing a body. And then it's on your opponent to then choose if they want to answer your Great 8 Baby in the same fashion, or if they're just going to play SCR down again, which is usually not the thing to do. Playing the SCR down again because it makes them very vulnerable to you playing another Goten, or like if you go in Trunks, swing with Trunks, swing with leader, combo of Trunks, add by Goten and another card, and then play Goten, and then you just combo off with Great 8 Baby swing for 40, bouncing the card back. So it's more so for the mirror match more than anything else, but there's still like a lot of zero. Like Gohan 4-drop is a very good card to just bounce back in blue, right? Bouncing back Great 8 Baby, not Great, yeah, Bouncing back Great 8 Baby, Secret Red Goku, these are really good cards. Jiren is also usually a big one. It's more so for Jiren, so you don't have to play Pan. Pan's not as efficient as in this card. The fact that you can recycle this is also really good. This is also a lethal attacker against Blue, because Blue usually just hyper defends, so by the time you're awakened, you're actually allowed to just swing with this Goten first before you combo off with something else to bounce it back. I've already mentioned this, Trunks. I don't think I even need to, like, this is mandatory 4 of. Being able to add back any of your Brainwash or Mutant Machines that cost 4 or less is just very, very powerful. Nothing really more to say about this card. Honestly, it's just a staple 4 of in this deck always. I am playing 4 copies of the Super Rare Trunks. I think this card is mandatory if you want to beat Blue. Like, you need to just kind of outgrind Blue. It's a very long grind, but if you don't have 4 copies of Trunks, your Blue matchup's going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. I usually wouldn't recommend you play this out early against Blue. Or specifically, I wouldn't play this card out early against Satan City because it literally just requires Sharpness Stage Great Saiyaman to out this card. But like in the later stages of the game, when you've established an SCR, it's kind of this weird balance where you need to play very patiently and choose a turn where you can establish. It's why I like the Great 8 Baby so much, because establishing Great 8 Baby into Trunks feels very good, because if your opponent wants to answer the Great 8 Baby, they first have to answer the Trunks, which is not as easy, especially in Satan City. They can't really do that very efficiently. They can do it, but it costs a lot of cards for them to do, and then you could potentially just do it out again. You kind of just need to read the situation that you're in. Goten is usually the go-to blue card generically that will bounce this card back for when they want to answer a card. So like when they're on 4 energy, they'll usually just Goten this card back to your hand and then play Sinister Sickle to answer whatever else is on the board. But then there's nothing stopping you from just playing the Trunks down again with another body. And you continuously just keep pressuring the opponent to be on a form of removal for this card, which it's pseudo-infinite. As long as they have Pilaf, they have access to Goten. But then they're just not doing anything very high impact against you if they're doing that. It's very annoying, it's very grindy. You have to have a lot of patience with Blue to do well against it. Like, you kind of just have to figure out the correct times to play this card down. But I do think this card is still just very much mandatory at 4, because it's a Self-Awakener as well that protects your board against blue. Against green as well, this card's very, very annoying for them to deal with. They don't have a very efficient way to deal with this card as of right now. Because like playing warm green on this card is very, like, it feels awful if I'm being honest. Like, warm green in this card away feels kind of bad, but like, what else can you do against this card? Because like, people aren't playing cards like Tien right now to answer this card. I think next set, this card will be a lot more manageable generically for green to deal with, but as of right now, I still think this card against green is just borderline auto win half the time. For Buller, it's Self-Awakener once again, and it's your energy marker generator, which I just think is insane. Like, I don't think there's ever a reason to not play 4 of this card. I think Self-Awakening is one of the most important things you can do when you're playing Baby. I just think you should always have this card at 4. It's a 10k combo as well, generates a marker, recurable. Obviously in the later stages of the game it's not going to be as good, but like, the most important thing is Awakening when playing Baby. If you're not awakened, you're just offline essentially. It's a card I wouldn't recommend cutting for 3. I think 4 is just needed. You need to see this at the other stages of the game. Whenever you're able to go first, your opponent always has this decision to make. Is like the major reason why I have Buller at 4 though. Your opponent always has to make the decision whether they want to burn the energy marker when they're going second. They have to deal with, I'm just going to talk about this as well, like, Buller in combination with Glorio basically puts your opponent on a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario, where if they burn the energy marker to put Glorio offline, it makes them susceptible to the punish of you playing Buller instead, eating a life, swinging with your leader, and getting the marker, basically putting you on turn 3 secret rare. And them dealing with secret rare Goku when they're down a whole energy is very hard. So having this card at 4 always creates the scenario, the consistent scenario where if your opponent burns the marker, you can play Buller, eat a life, swing with leader for 25, comboing off the Buller, gain the marker, so you have 2 energy and marker, going into the following turn with 3 energy and marker, meaning you're playing SCR, and then your opponent has to deal with SCR. If they don't burn the marker, you can take, like, you can choose to either, you can then choose if you want to play Gloria or Buller. It depends on the game. It depends on the game and the deck you're playing against. Turn 3 SCR usually is always better than a cantrip draw off of, the Glorio. But like, if you're against red, for example, I would value the cantrip draw more and the body over developing an SCR that you have to swing with that prevents you from awakening. And especially that you can just remove it for 1 energy. So developing a card like this is a lot stronger. For Super Rare Gokus, like I said, I'm just a big believer of playing 4 Self-Awakeners. Like I said, I think you're just meant to play 12 Self-Awakeners in Baby. Getting starved feels awful. This is one of the best lethal attackers you can play anyway. It's essentially a 2-drop 25k body that lets you eat a life and generates a marker, which is amazing. It being searchable as well by Pan is amazing. Like, as I mentioned, like 8 of our Self-Awakeners are searchable, which is huge. Like, obviously in the later stages of the game, this card's not very high impact, but like in the early stages when you're going second, like this is usually your best turn 2 play. Like just playing Goku GT, eat a life and regain the marker you just burnt, feels very, very good. I'm teching 2 copies of Bardock 3-drop because I wanted more attackers in the deck. If you want more utility, then you can either choose to play like 2 copies of Hercule, or you could go for a 3-3 split between Power and Giru, or you could potentially play a third Giru and a third ×10. It's completely and utterly up to you, but I wanted more attackers. And like Bardock has very, very nice synergy with Baby Possessed Boyform, as I mentioned before. Essentially on 4 energy, you can always get like 4 energy basically means you can swing 4 times, twice for 30k, and you'll lose no cards. What I mean by this is, on 4 energy, you can play Bardock. You'll then play Baby Possessed Boyform. You'll swing with Bardock, comboing off the Baby Possessed Boyform. You'll draw a card with Bardock. Baby Possessed Boyform will then play the Trunks. You can then swing with Trunks, combo any 10k Brainwash card out of your hand. So it could be Bulla, Goten, Giru, or another copy of Baby Possessed Boyform. So that's another 30k swing. Then you get to swing for... You get to finally swing with your leader, draw a card. You can then potentially, you can combo off the Trunks GT, and then you just get back the 2 cards. You just get back the baby, and then whatever the other card was, you comboed off for free. And then you can swing one more time with the Bardock, and that's 4 swings, 2 of them being 30k. So you get to super combo check your opponent twice. So you get to swing 30, 30, 25, 20, which is really good number. Those are really good numbers. 4 swings at 2 of them check for super combos, and then Bardock draws you a card. Your leader will draw your card, and then Trunks will replace the 2 cards you used. It will replace the Baby Possessed Boyform or whatever other 10k you decided to get rid of. So you've essentially lost no cards, but you've taken essentially, on average, you'll take 4 cards away from your opponent. That's the best case scenario for them. They'll lose 4 cards. You'll gain. They lose 4 cards. You keep 4 cards. That's a lot of good tempo, good numbers. I do like the Bardock in the later stages in the game though. Being able to just pressure your opponent for very easy and efficient numbers feels great. This is also a card that I think is quite relatively easy to defend. It usually calls for hard removal. The most awkward thing about the Bardock is taking the time and finding a turn to play him down is the hardest thing about playing Bardock. It's the kind of the reason why 3 drops are not very popular in Black. They're a very awkward number to play down, I find. Like, it's the most awkward number. Like, this card doesn't count because it generates a marker, so like you don't lose any energy. Like, this is always essentially a 2-drop. But every other 3-drop in the game kind of feels awkward unless it like replaces itself. But yeah, Bardock's kind of the same in that regard. Like, it's just finding the correct time to play it down. But when you do get it down, it does snowball quite a lot of advantage. I will always say though, like, playing this card turn 2 against, when you go second against green, playing this card turn 2 is one of the most oppressive things you can do against them. They can't answer this card very efficiently outside of a Warm Greeting, but a Warm Greeting does something very dangerous. It puts you from 2 energy back to 3, which basically allows you to play SCR on curve. So you can play SCR into a cantrip and then just attack them for a lot of pressure. But if you don't want to play Bardock, like I said, you can just play any form of utility cards instead, whether it's ×10, Giru, or Power Brothers. I'm not even going to talk about SCR 4-drop, but this is still the best Black card in the game. You have to play this. I'm only playing 2 Great 8 Babies. I feel like 2's more than enough. This card is exceedingly good against Black and against Black as well. This is really good. This card's just exceedingly good against Blue and Yellow, I realise. This is one of the easiest ways to answer Videl in the game. This is one of the easiest ways to answer Videl. Swing 30k at leader and then removing the Videl by putting it into the combo area is amazing. The fact that you can always play a 2-drop from your hand, any 2-drop that's 2 or less, is very, very good. Being able to just play down this Trunks, or Glorio when you control a marker on play. Whether you have a marker or they have a marker, playing this down from your hand as well is also it's insane when your opponent has a marker and you're able to go Great Ape into Glorio. It's actually crazy when you get to do that. This card does pile on a lot of pressure. The fact that it's recurable via the Trunks is also good, so you don't have to commit to a high number amount of these in the deck, which is really, really nice. Because like 2 is the amount I'd want to play on average anyway. Even if I was playing Rildo, I wouldn't want to play this at 4, I'd want to play it at 2, because the Super Baby 1 is a lot better in Rildo. So 2's always felt like the right number for me. And it just consistently removes a threat that the opponent controls, but then it also enables you to combo away any, like this card can combo any free cost on either side. So like when you're going for game, you can literally combo off your non brainwash attackers once they've attacked already. Like you can just combo off Bardock with the effect, specifically with this Great Ape Babies effect, which feels really good. So you can just, you're not wasting any cards on the board. Overall, it's just a very solid card. It's great tempo. It's always, I think that it's one of the best things you can follow up an SCR with. Like I wouldn't play SCR into SCR. I would usually always just go SCR into Great Ape Baby into another dude, usually into the Trunks, so I can protect the board and develop another 30k body. Really, really good card. I don't think I need to talk about Glorio. Like this is Black's game warping card essentially. If your opponent isn't playing around Glorio, you're winning, bro. Like if you get to play 2 of these in a row, I find it very difficult to lose games where you get to play 2 of these in a row, honestly. It might feel like you're taking the turn off when you're doing stuff like that, but like it just feels so powerful. And the fact that it's just a 2-drop 25k that draws a card if your opponent doesn't burn the marker is amazing. In Black Mirror matches as well, Black Mirror matches is kind of the reason why I keep this card at 4. They will generate markers. Like there will be turns, they won't burn the marker every single time. It's rare that they do. And being able to, like, but this is also the best way for you to remove your marker in the mirror match when you're forced to go second. When you're forced to go second, which is already quite quite a disadvantage, like being able to play the Glorio to get rid of your marker, whilst you're like, so your opponent doesn't play their Glorio to gain the marker for free is huge. But overall, this card's a house. Like there's nothing. This is like one of the best cards in Black, honestly. Generically, like this is just perfect card design for Black. It's game warping. There's no other word for it. This card just warps the game. You don't have to play 4. This is very much a card you could play 3 copies of, honestly, because a competent opponent will play around this if they can. I think the only color that can't play around this card very efficiently is red. Like Beerus, for example, is a color that just really hates Glorio because he replaces himself. Like Glorio gets to replace himself immediately, and he can swing 25k to just force Beerus to awaken earlier than it just gets to force Beerus to awaken nice and early, so you're not getting critted anymore, and just ensures that they can't play their good self awakeners like the Daimagoku. Khalifa's whatever, but like Daimagoku is a very good self awakener that you don't want to see multiples on the board. I'm only playing 2 Bardocks. I feel comfortable with 2 Bardocks. I know some people don't. This is another card where, like, if you want to trim a card, like if you want to trim any of the cards I've mentioned before, 3 copies of Bardock is fine. I found on average I don't really need this card into like the super late game, so like I felt very comfortable with 2 copies. Because a lot of red decks only play 2 as well. Like most red decks don't play more than 2 double strikers, and that's my mentality with this Bardock as well. I don't really want to play more than 2. You're not playing it until the mid to late game unless you're in the mirror match, then that's fair enough. But then the first person to play Barlock usually loses. In my experience, anyway, the first person to develop Barlock loses because your opponent Barlocks your Barlock away, and then you're forced to play the next Barlock to remove their one, because if their one sticks, you lose. Well, you don't automatically lose, but if they know what they're doing, you pretty much will be in a very disadvantage. You'll be in a lot of disadvantage more often than not. But like, I usually against blue though, on average, I will not play this down until I'm literally closing out the game. Like, I think it's too risky to promote the card that will end the game on the board if you're not winning the game that turn, or putting yourself in a position to win that turn. It's very risky to do so. And if you're not playing Double Striker, you can never close out the game against a Marcio, unfortunately. Like, you have to be playing a Double Striker. And against a Marcio, it's the same thing. I would not play this card down on 4 energy just to put them from 4 to 2. Like, all that's going to happen, unless you have another one in your hand, all that's going to happen is they're just going to swing, draw, awaken, and then Zen at you. Granted, if they're on 6 energy when they're about to do that, then I would argue that's the correct thing to do, because they can't heal, and you can put yourself in a position to like swing a number that will fatigue their hand to hell. Especially, like, as I've said before, if you have Baby Possessed Boy form and Trunks with Bardock, that's base 35k already. That's just 2 cards. 2 cards with Bardock is literally 75. So if you, depending on your hand size, you could dump kill them immediately, and you can swing with your leader first without even giving them more cards. But like I said before, if you want to play free, go for it. Just nothing wrong with free copies. Vegeta Double Striker, Vegeta Super Combo, nothing to talk about there. And then just 2 times 10. I have a huge love-hate relationship with times 10 Kamehameha. 2 to 3 copies is usually my go-to. I usually stick with 2. It's really weird because like you only kind of want to see this card at the start of the game. Like, it's like the early stages of the game. I think this card's very good, and its value decreases significantly as the game later goes on. Like, I feel like this is primarily just to punish blue. Blue and reds, this card feels very high impact. This card's okay against yellow. Being able to pop Majin Buu Evil and Strong Buu, I think, is powerful. But if your opponent's awakened, like, you could potentially be giving them free energy to defend themselves. I'm not saying they will be able to defend themselves, but sometimes they can. And it's not bad to remove 6 energies worth of cards for 1 energy. That's never going to be bad. But like, I've always found like when I play this card at 3 or more, it clogs so hard. But then when it's at 2, you never see it. It's so like, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. I'm comfortable with 2. If you want to play 3, go for it. Like I said, I think this Bardock is the most cuttable card out of the whole deck. If you need utility slots, go for it. Like, if you want to play more removal, just trim these 2 Bardocks to play 2 more of these. At the end of the day, it all comes down to personal preference. There is no definitively correct ratios on some cards. Like, outside of like, I feel like outside of this card and your super combos, I feel like outside of Super Combo, SCR, and this Trunks, every other number is personal preference. Like I said before, I don't like being starved when I'm playing Baby, so I'm going to play 12 Self-Awakeners. The fact that 8 of them are searchable is very important. I very much enjoyed this version of the deck. It's very mid-rangey and it can tempo switch up whenever it needs to, which is great. It can be the aggressor immediately if it needs to be, or it can just outvalue the opponent because this card is so powerful. I feel like this deck's only bad matchup, in my personal opinion, is Satan City. I think Satan City is the only deck that really gives this deck a lot of trouble. Majin Buu Evil is a little bit annoying. I think it's a bit annoying, but I generally do think your deck is better than theirs. I really do. Like, I usually put it on the fact of, like, if you establish this card down early enough, like, if you can get this card down turn 2 into, like, an SCR, this card is never going to get answered. Like, they can't answer SCR once you get a Trunks on the board. It's just making sure you find that right balance of maintaining a healthy hand size and putting them in a position where you're not giving them too much cards, so when they go for the lethal swing, they have enough to kill you, but then still putting them in a position where you can lethal swing them. So it's weird. It's a weird balance. They're a lot more aggressive than you are. But honestly, I do think Baby is better than Majin Buu Evil. I still think Baby beats Majin Buu Evil, not by a lot. Like not by a lot, but like in a game of attrition, I do think Baby is better than Majin Buu Evil. I think both decks still suffer in the Buu matchup, but I think Majin Buu Evil has like almost no chance against Blue as opposed to Baby. I think Baby has some chance. Not absolute zero, but like it has some chance. Like I feel like Baby can beat Zamasu. It's tough, but I do think it can beat it. Whereas Majin Buu Evil, I don't think Majin Buu Evil can ever beat Zamasu very consistently. Not consistently. I think a competent Blue player or Zamasu player into a competent Majin Buu player, I still think Majin Buu doesn't win that very consistently. I really don't. But yeah, this is the list. Edit it, take it apart, play it to how it suits your playstyle. It's all up to you at the end of the day. I hope this explanation wasn't too long. If you think it could have been in a shorter form, go for it. Like I like to go on a tangent on every card and try to really be in depth about my choices. If you think it could be shorter, tell me. I can condense this down to 10 minutes. Honestly, it's just I really want to go in depth about every card and why I'm playing it. I think like the only alternative cards, if we was to go through it quickly, I think the only alts in terms of cards you can consider, you can potentially play Super Baby 2 if you want to. If you want like a little smidgen of additional consistency. I found this card not being very good in the end. Like it's just okay. Having another card that can find your Trunkster is appreciated, but like that's the only card you really want to find, I found. So playing it wouldn't be too great. You'll have, I think it's around 18 plus targets. I also quickly just check 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18. It'd have 19 targets, including itself. So yeah, it'd have 19 targets. So it can increase the consistency of the deck, sure, but it's not very needed. If you don't want to play Pan Cantrip, and because you want to adjust the ratios of Trunks and GT Goku free drop, then just play regular Cantrip. Just play a regular draw Cantrip. The only other card you can consider as well is Hercule. As a utility card to just potentially add back ×10 to your hand, or Para Brothers. It's up to you if you want that additional tool of recurability. Once again, this is the Bardock slot you can cut for it. It is good utility. I can't deny that. But like, I wouldn't recommend playing any more than like 3 copies of this, because you'll real talk, you'll only be able to add ×10 and Para Brothers, like, and the Cantrip, I guess, but like, I mean, you'd have 8 targets for 2 copies of Hercule. Maybe that's worth it to you. Like, it's still not stopping you from adding back Giru, right, or Baby Possessed Boy Form. It's just because Trunks can do this already that I didn't find it worth it. But if you do want to be able to recur it, if you do want to be able to recur your ×10 whenever you want, Hercule is a card I could also recommend, honestly. Other than that, though, that's it. There's no other card I could really wholeheartedly recommend. Unfortunately, Gohan just doesn't do enough. The drawing the card is really nice, but like there's still no 2 cost extra worth playing right now, and unfortunately ×10 needs to remove the marker to do the major pop effect. Otherwise, yeah, if it didn't, I would be playing this card at like 2, right? It'd just be worth it for 2 slots, but it's just not. think the only other card I could potentially no, honestly no. The only other card you could potentially consider is Resisting Destiny. If you want like that little extra bit of defense or offense, but if you do play Resisting Destiny, I would recommend you do play like Gohan and Hercule at that point. But then that's a lot of slots. I did muck around with Spaceship of Hope as well, but like I found Spaceship of Hope just way too gimmicky. But it does add like so many, because it adds every single one of your brainwash cards, like, and your Pan GT. It has a lot of targets, honestly. 4-8, and it can add your super combo, so as I remember. Yeah, so like you would have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 28, 32. You'd have 32 targets for Spaceship of Hope, but the downside is you have to play Spaceship of Hope. That's the only downside about Spaceship of Hope. You actually have to play it. Like if we ever got like Roshi one drop, like let you eat a life and play a card for free, I'd play Roshi. I'd play Spaceship of Hope, but that doesn't exist. Super Gallic Gun is just offensively great, but like it's just not worth playing. You don't need to push your opponent's shit in that hard, honestly. It's just not worth it. And unfortunately, Revenge Death Ball has a condition to activate it from the get-go, right? Like you need 3 or more Mutant Machine or Brainwash in the drop to gain plus 5k, to basically Senzu Bean yourself. It's just not worth it. But yeah, that's enough of me yapping. Hopefully you enjoyed this profile, like the in-depth, like a proper in-depth discussion about why I'm playing these cards and whatnot. If there's a specific deck from set 4 you want to see, just let me know in the comments below. Also, once again, I have been asking, if you are watching, comment below your replays. I'm very interested in seeing replays. Very, very, very excited to see replays. So like, be sure to if you want to leave a comment, just leave your replays. Just be sure to have them published so that I can actually access them. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.